It's Saturday, June 2nd, 2018. And I finally got back to my own place just to fetch the items that we're going to be talking about in this video. This video is made in response to a recent comment asking for tips in terms of beginners. I believe the comment was asking whether they should take lessons. So, as you can see, I don't have any of my guitars here except for my old Yamaha 112C, EG 112C. They don't make them like these anymore. The quality control is much worse now. But yeah, this doesn't work, but it plays perfectly and it plays in tune. And I still have the Yamaha Pacifica. You see the different headstock. It's labeled differently now than my original Yamaha electric guitar, which is with the NASA logo, which was purchased back in 2002. And the headstock logo here is not actually part of the logo, it's a tattoo. But as you can see, the new Yamaha still has that nut problem. Even though I replaced the strings, I'm going to have to replace the nut on this new Yamaha. So I can't really play any guitars, even though I do have a couple of amps, a couple of practice amps here. I got a Fender Frontman and some other, puny amps. But mainly we're here for beginner guitarists. Number one, the first threshold question, should you take lessons? Yes, I took lessons. I only took lessons for 2 months. You should take lessons for at least 6 months, okay? I took lessons for 2 months, and then it was $75 an hour. For really good teachers, they cost upwards of $150 to $200 per hour. So you want to find somebody who's a really good teacher and learn, and it's expensive. So you should absolutely have a guitar teacher teach you for the first 6 months at the very least. If that's not possible, if you can't afford it, I couldn't afford it back in the day. I stopped after 2 months. Not just because it was costly. Back then it was $75 an hour, but I stopped after learning the pentatonic scale shape 1, and that was how far I progressed at that point in time. And then we started doing gigs. Me and my buddy, we found a drummer and we started doing gigs, playing like 3 original songs and mostly other cover songs. But I stopped going to lessons and I started to learn guitar from books. After learning the pentatonic scale shape 1, I just stopped because that's basically all I needed to know, was basically the Jimmy Page scale. And you don't want to stop there, obviously. And that really halted my playing for a long time until about a year after, back in 2003, I started getting into music theory and all of that. Prior, when I was in junior high, I was in the orchestra. I played the cello and also the violin. And so I knew how to read music, but I lost that ability. So, not all of us can afford even a week of guitar lessons. That's $200 right there for a week, for an hour's worth. If you want 2 hours, the introductory is usually 2 hours. That's like $400, $300 to $400. So, I mean, this is an alternative way to learn guitar. So we're going to be talking about some books. But firstly, I want to address the internet and YouTube. YouTube is a great way to learn guitar, and there are a lot of, highly upvoted videos, and you'll be able to judge for yourself. So YouTube is fine. However, I would go with books instead, just because of how condensed the materials are and the fact that they're easy to follow. There's just so much stuff on YouTube and the internet in general. Now on YouTube, it's very easy to tell, if somebody is a beginner, an intermediate, or an expert. But on the internet, you find music theory stuff and things like that. For example, you can find stuff on the circle of fifths that we talked about, the relative majors and the minors. You don't know if that's written by somebody who just started learning it or who is advanced, or that's one issue. Another issue, there's just too much information and it's not organized. So, I mean, you're going from website to website, guitar blog to guitar blog, just learning piecemeal. So an alternative way is to learn by books, and here are some books that I believe that will help a great deal. Number one, if you're just starting out, Guitar for Dummies is still sold, and it's probably a much better version. This is from 2003. This is when I started getting into more music theory. Now, this book doesn't really address music theory a great deal. It's more rock and blues style, and but it includes a CD, and it's very easy for a beginner to learn to pick up the guitar using this book without having taken a single lesson. Remember, I had 2 months worth of lessons, and even I got stuck. So this is, you can just pick this up and play and not know anything at all about guitar. Now, an alternative book to that is Complete Technique for Modern Guitar, and a companion book, Modern Guitar Theory for Modern Guitarists. I would not recommend these books. Number one, they don't have CDs. Number two, the author, Joseph Alexander, is a great musician and everything, but not everything is explained very well in this book. It's just not pick up and play type. You just can't pick this up and play as a beginner. Okay, so I wouldn't recommend these books for either guitar theory or for just picking up and playing. They're just not well written and well organized. So this is a perfect book, and I'm sure it's gotten even better, the 2018 version versus the 2003 version. So that's one book. Sorry, video fell down. Sorry about that. That's one book. Another book is Everything Rock and Blues Guitar. It has a CD included. I bought this a while ago. I don't know if it's still on sale, but it does have a CD included, and everything you need to know about rock and blues guitar. Now, both this and Guitar for Dummies has not just tabs, but music reading, sight reading, if you know how to sight read, which is a very important skill. And that's the reason I picked up the piano again, is so that I could relearn how to sight read. Now, this is a good introductory book as well, although I would recommend this. Just get that. This is the highest recommendation if you're just picking up, just starting out. And this is a good second book for rock and blues. Now, getting into an alternative one is Hall Leonard Guitar Method. It's an alternative to the Guitar for Dummies, but it's not as easy for a beginner to pick up and play as Guitar for Dummies, but it's still recommended. This sort of presupposes that you have some knowledge of how to hold a guitar and things like that. If you don't know that, you got to go to Guitar for Dummies, okay? So, those are your starting out books. Now, when you get into more advanced stuff, a book you want to pick up, not advanced stuff, but a book you might want to pick up just starting out is Guitar Aerobics. And it's still on Amazon, and it's got CDs included. And it's basically a 52-week course for the beginner. Now, if you're an intermediate or even intermediate, high intermediate, you can still pick this up and benefit from this. Except instead of going through week by week, you can do 2 weeks of exercises in half a day. I mean, so it's week 36, for example, and every Monday is alternate picking, every Tuesday is string skipping, every Wednesday is string bending, every Thursday is arpeggios, every Friday is sweep picking, every Saturday is legato, and every Sunday is rhythm. And these are all, the phrasing ability you pick up from this book is just bar none. I mean, 52 weeks, I went through this pretty fast, and it's basically guitar aerobics, and it's a must-have, including Guitar for Dummies if you're starting out. Now, next up, we have Exotic Pentatonic Soloing for Guitar. Now, we have books about music theory, and we'll get into that, but this doesn't really cover music theory as much, except it covers 11 exotic pentatonic scales. So it presupposes your knowledge of music theory, and if you don't know music theory, you can still use this. But if you know music theory, it'll make much more sense to you. 11 exotic pentatonic scales, 55 essential licks, and 183 audio tracks. So I guess everything is going to be on It's not included with the CD, so everything is on online, if I remember correctly. And right, so there's minor pentatonic scale, major pentatonic scale, the Hindu pentatonic scale, the blues pentatonic scale, as we all know with the blue notes, the Robin Ford pentatonic scale, the no root add 9 pentatonic scale, the Lydian pentatonic, the M5, B5 pentatonic, the major 7th, sharp 5 pentatonic scale, the Iwato pentatonic, the Hiroshi pentatonic improvising. I mean, this is just amazing, this book, for rock guitar, for any kind of guitar. We're talking jazz, funk, all of that. It's covered. And then the best book to learn music theory on is this thin book right here. And I don't know if it's still sold, but this is how I learned music theory, and it's called Scales Over Chords, The Guitarist's Guide, The Foundation of Melodic Soloing by Chad Johnson. This is highly, highly recommended. The fastest way to learn music theory, the modes, and how to solo melodically. It gets you in there very fast with very easy explanations. Now, we're moving the bar up, so you're not going to get these later books until you get through Guitar for Dummies if you're just starting out. A more roundabout way to learn music theory, and also something that can be used as an adjunct to Guitar for Dummies, is what's called fretboard theory. And these are great books. They don't include CDs. They're by Desi Cerna. But they include so much great material on the guitar, and it doesn't push you into music theory like this does. This pushes you in there. This applies music theory in a much more roundabout fashion, and it's central to the guitar. So instead of learning music theory in general, which is more here, you're learning music theory for the guitar, and that's it. And there's a volume 2, and the great thing is, whenever let's say they're talking about E minor, B major, you'll learn the cage shapes, of course, and all that. They'll give you songs like from Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, the Eagles, Grateful Dead, Santana, Allman Brothers, U2, so many more of that key and that solo, and they'll tell you exactly which solo to play. And it's got mostly tabs, but yeah, so I mean, it's got mostly tabs, but there is sight reading music. Now, lastly, not second to last, is fretboard fluency, and this is again by Joseph Alexander. These two books that I showed prior by Joseph Alexander, these introductory books and the guitar theory book, they're not as well written as fretboard fluency and exotic pentatonic soloing. They're both by the same. All 4 books are all by Joseph Alexander, but fretboard fluency is awesome for mastering the guitar, and so is exotic pentatonic soloing. But again, this presupposes your knowledge of music theory, rudimentary knowledge, and it's a great guide. It's a great guide for fretboard fluency, along with that practice book we have, the Guitar Aerobics. This is essential. Lastly, this thing is something that everything should be based on this book, and that's your chord Bible. This is something you should buy right from the very beginning, along with your Guitar for Dummies, or Hal Leonard, or whichever one. And this is much more important than Guitar Aerobics. Guitar Aerobics is just phrasing, and phrasing is something I mean, this is essential, I think, but phrasing is something you'll pick up as you start to learn songs and stuff. But the Guitar Chord Bible is absolutely essential. It covers funk, jazz, blues, country, classical, and it starts out with C, and there's D major, there's C major. So this is what the books look like, and there's multiple fingerings for each chord. So for example, let's go to G major, okay? So G major, it starts you out right here, G major, right? All the fingerings for G major, right? And then next, it has G major 6. So you're adding a 6, and it's a very common chord form, G major 6. There is a G major 7th, various fingerings. There's G major dominant 7th. There's G major suspended Suspended chords are basically chords that don't have a minor or major chord tone. You'll learn that once you get into music theory. But these are all great. This is a great book. And it goes, and then it starts with G minor, and G minor. There's G minor 6. There's G minor dominant 7th. There's G minor augmented 7th, or there's G7 augmented. So there's 7th chords. There's G7, and then it goes directly to A flat. So it covers all the flats and all the sharps. And this is absolutely essential. And you should learn this on an acoustic to get your fingers acclimated. And this is essential learning for every guitarist. Learning to play rhythm and learning how to form chords and different chord voicings and shapes in the caged method for chord voicings is absolutely essential. And I hope this video helped. It's running too long, but that's it. Thank you.